Hello everybody, this is Kate at the Library of Whispers, and today I'm going to take a look at this health and beauty magazine. Now I have a little bit of a sore throat, so I'm also going to be sucking a throat sweet. And the other thing that's a little bit different is that I'm using a binaural mic, so you should be able to hear the difference in each ear if you're wearing headphones. This is black currant, I think. Yeah. Black currant lozenges. Okay. So this is a little magazine that came in the post from a company called Boots, which is a chemist. So I thought we'd have a look through. So she's got very nice looking hair. And it looks like it's been cut recently, unlike mine, which hasn't been cut for 3 months, I think. Something like that anyway. Jennifer Lopez, Promise. And if you buy that perfume, you get a free Jennifer Lopez gold makeup bag. Very nice. Take control of your tan. Well, I am as pale as I think I've ever been, particularly since I've mostly been inside. I'm not actually getting any of the sun, even if we have had some sun. Although we did get a bit of sun today. Repair, rebuild, rejuvenate. That's what I could do with. Easy peach shimmer. Give your blonde a pastel peach tint. Most wanted. Ooh, in a luxury holiday at a Jamaican resort worth over £5,000. That would be nice. Jessica Alba. Changing the face of wellness. What it means to be a woman transitioning, celebrating womanity. Love that dress. Open up about mental health. Non-stop style. Ramadan was built for crisis. The dark side of positivity. Should we read this? Okay, let's have a look. The Pollyanna syndrome, or toxic positivity, TP, as it's now known. It means playing the glad game 24/7, regardless of how you or someone else really feels. The person dishing it out most likely means well, but guess what? Getting told at least you've got your health when you've just lost your job isn't helpful, nor is hearing negative thoughts attract to negative things when you're feeling down or having a bad day, or grits teeth. You've got this. Something trotted out regularly to a friend of mine with incurable cancer. I mean, seriously. We do it to ourselves too. Jackie, a teacher, admits she regularly berates herself for feeling stressed or anxious. I'll think, keep it to yourself and put on a brave face. It's like none of us can give ourselves permission to remove those rose-tinted glasses, even if they break or are hurting like hell. Of course, optimism is not a scourge on society, far from it, especially over the past year. But what is bad is the belief it should be a permanent state of mind. In our TED Women Talk, The Gift and Power of Emotional Courage, top psychologist Susan David called this a tyranny of positivity and referenced a survey she'd conducted of over 70,000 people, in which shockingly a third of them judged themselves for having so-called bad emotions, such as sadness, anger, even grief. Normal, natural emotions are now seen as good or bad, she added. Being positive is a new form of moral correctness. Think that's too harsh? Then know this. Not acknowledging we have a wide range of emotions has implications for our mental health. A study by the University of California, Berkeley, found people who reacted to negative emotions with self-criticism rather than acceptance just piled additional stress on themselves. But those who accepted these emotions ended up with better mental health and more emotional resilience. Yet another study found that suppressing grief can manifest in physical or mental health issues down the track. Even worse, suppressing your emotions could actually decrease your life expectancy. So living life like it's a positivity meme can actually be dangerous. How have we ended up here? What is denial doing to us, and how can we get back to experiencing life fully without filtering our feelings or putting a happy sheen over someone else's? Hashtagging happiness. It may come as no surprise that social media pushes TP hard. For context, the the @positivevibes hashtag has more than 60 million posts. Any wonder we're feeling so much pressure to jazz hands? Always put on a happy face. Toxic positivity has undoubtedly always been a thing, says neuroscientist and best-selling author Dean Burnett. But while we now regularly share our lives online, very few people have a warts and all approach, meaning we see happiness as a default state, rather than a positive thing that happens when good things occur. Jess Baker, a psychologist and women's leadership coach, adds, "It's like this best version of ourselves and other people is causing us to feel shame around negative emotions, making it harder for us to acknowledge we have them." Rosie, a writer, couldn't agree more. Phrases such as "everything happens for a reason" drive me nuts. What happens when terrible things happen? Are we supposed to take from them the phrase that we deserve it somehow? Some things don't happen for any good reason, and pretending otherwise is wrong. The trouble with denial. Of course, this blinkered approach can be distressing if you're on the receiving end. Sometimes it can even be enough to ruin a friendship, as graphic designer Angela found. I admitted to struggling after being made redundant on top of some family deaths, she confides, but my friend told me to appreciate the good things, which made me feel completely invalidated, as if it was my fault for not bearing up. Meanwhile, Vicky, a freelance creative who was dealing with PTSD after a brain hemorrhage, was told, "Don't dwell on it, don't be negative." I just wanted someone to say, "You're struggling, aren't you? Is there anything I can do?" she admits. Toxic positivity places the onus on the individual who is having a hard time, says Dean. They may be suffering for a range of reasons beyond their control, but to turn to them and say, "Just think positive," is to ignore all that. And in a roundabout way, it suggests that they are to blame for their situation. After all, if you really can choose to be happy, then anyone who isn't has chosen wrongly, and that's on them. It's also seriously detrimental to someone with mental health issues, he warns. A person with a mood or anxiety disorder can't change their state of mind. It's like telling someone with a broken leg that the best way to recover is to take up jogging? And how does choosing to be happy help with a desperate financial situation or an abusive relationship? It doesn't. Plus, Jess reminds us, what I might find anxiety invoking, you might swan through, but I'm still allowed to feel stress and anxiety. Getting the balance right. While turning from toxic positivity to perpetual pessimism isn't the answer, it's crucial to accept that just as we can feel joy, we all have negative emotions too. They're part of life. If we deny ourselves the experience of negative emotions, our brain and its internal systems don't get any practice in dealing with and processing them. It's like muscles. If you don't use the ones needed to lift heavy things, you get weaker, warns Dean. Jess advises that instead of avoiding negative emotions, we should get close to and understand them. Name what you're experiencing, for example, sadness, anger, fear, and think, how is this affecting my body right now? I can feel it in my tummy. My head is spinning. I'm drained. Processing it like this can help you move forward. Deny it, and it gets worse. It's like ignoring a deadline at work. The worry builds and builds, she adds. Don't I know it? What if you're struggling and want to chat to a loved one, but worry you might be drowned out in a shower of positive mantras? We have to be true to our own feelings and find people we can be true with, says Jess. Some of my friends love positive thinking, and it serves them well, so I turn to different people if I need deep emotional discussions. People have different strengths, and it's for us to understand who we can serve and who we can be served by, she explains. Another helpful tool is to give your mates guidance on what you need from them right now. You might say, I just need you to listen to me while I download my feelings, Jess adds. As for turning off your own TP tap when a loved one is struggling, it's about giving them validation by acknowledging how they are feeling right in this moment, says Jess. You could say, I hear how you are feeling and it sounds awful. Just support them and listen so they feel heard and understood. So consider this permission to ignore things like, if you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine. If you're feeling about as sunny as a bleak winter's day, because you know, crap days happen, and that's okay. Certainly is. So this is Jess on how to avoid TP. Which was toxic positivity. So try to steer clear of judging the person's emotional reaction. Ask open questions and let them tell you as much or as little as they choose to. Offer support and a listening ear instead of advice. Don't feel you have to say anything, just listening to someone can be useful and supportive. If you feel unqualified to help, you could suggest they speak to a professional and offer to help, then find a qualified coach or counsellor. Instead of resorting to a positivity cliche, I sometimes ask this question of myself or others: what activities can you do today to feed your soul? It's a practical way of helping. Interesting. Sparkly. What's in your bag? I don't know what I have in my bag at the moment. Ultimate face fix, stylish sunglasses, monthly must-haves, hand hero. Oh, this is good stuff. I use this. L'Oreal LV Dream Lens. So good. One Step Volumizer Family. Let's get active. Retinol. Ultimate Hair Heroes. You know, I've always wondered what I would look like with pink hair. Seriously. Don't know. Maybe one day. Good hair is skin deep. Put more pep in your step. Take a hike. Allergy busters. Wellness. A whole new work world. Don't feel tied to your desk. The Art of Disagreeing. That might be interesting. Let's have a look. We We disagreement avoiders have had a tough 12 months. It's been a perfect confrontation storm, what with Brexit, the US election, the Black Lives Matter movement, a global pandemic, anti-maskers, dissing maskers and anti-vaxxers versus pro-vaxxers, to name a handful of the past year's divisive issues. So why are millions of us still doing everything we can to sidestep disagreeable differences of opinion? Dr. Jean Safer, psychotherapist and author of I Love You But I Hate Your Politics, Bite Back Publishing, explains, different opinions are difficult. People like to have people agree with them. Georgie Nightingale, life coach and founder of Trigger Conversations, adds, we have a core need to be liked and to belong. So to overcome this, we have to take a risk that could threaten that need being met. She also points out the stakes are higher when it comes to close friends, family and colleagues, which is why it can be harder to have challenging conversations with them. However, if you're prone to playing a conversationally safe, However, if you're prone to playing it conversationally safe and keeping stum about your opinions, consider this. Self-censoring can lead to other people's beliefs being unchallenged for most of their lives, giving rise to inflexible views and sensitivity, says Georgie. It can also mean losing out on opportunities to truly get to know someone and progress our understanding of others and the world. Realising that there are people out there with different views can be a valuable lesson. Case in point, recently my bestie brought up her views on marriage, very different from mine, and my knee-jerk reaction was to shut down the conversation. To my surprise, however, after an open discussion, we found it benefited our friendship, leaving us with a better understanding of and more respect for each other. Georgie agrees that being open and showing heaps of empathy is the way to go when discussing tricky topics. Yes, you want to be clear and specific, but also make it known that you're curious and there to try to see someone else's view of the world without judging. That is at the core. Empathy. Difficult but so worth it. So, if you're sick of being a disagreement dodger, follow these convo commandments and let those respectful debates commence. Examine your motive. Before plunging in, check your mindset, advises Georgie. Think, do I want to convert someone because I believe my views are correct? Or am I interested in trying to find out how someone has a different set of beliefs or views of the world? This is critical and often forgotten. If your agenda is to change someone's mind, you'll put them on the defence from the start. Dr. Safer, or Safer, not quite sure how you pronounce that, agrees. A lot of people will stick an article in their partner's face and say, read this. I call it article thrusting. It's a disaster. It just doesn't work. It's offensive. It's like saying, your opinions aren't right. Have my opinions. Talk less, listen more. We know it's tempting to mic drop the jaw-dropping statistic you've got up your sleeve. But hold that thought. The most important thing in a conversation is the other person feeling seen and heard, says Georgie. Even if you think you have a great point to make, interrupting someone or challenging them too early can have a negative impact, breaking rapport and leading the other person to feel unheard and unwilling to engage in seeing others' perspectives. Capitalise on common ground. Don't always assume your views are as different as, say, Kim Kardashian's dress senses from Kate Middleton's. It's all about specifics, says Georgie. When someone says something very abstract, example, I'm pro-anti-Brexit, you may disagree overall, but the disagreement could be very narrow. For example, even if you're anti-Brexit generally, you might still want fairer trade terms. In a situation like this, it's good to start by showing any common ground you may have first, then following with the bit you disagree on, adds Georgie. There will always be something you agree on, no matter how small, and naming this builds trust and opens people up to listening. Pick words wisely. Even the most confident of conversationalists can morph into a stroppy 14-year-old if a viewpoint is getting on their nerves. But drop the digs and use clever conversation techniques, saying yes, but instantly makes the yes sound insincere, says Georgie, whereas saying yes and acknowledge what they're saying and adds to it. She cautions against using the phrase, don't you think, as it can trigger defensiveness. You're assuming they haven't thought about something, or that they should think about that. And if you want someone to carry on talking or explain themselves further, try echoing. It shows you're interested and really listening. Pick 1 to 3 key words from what someone has said and use them in your response, and they will keep talking and with more depth and breadth. Put politics to one side. We get it. Political views feel like deal breakers, but Dr. Safer suggests thinking differently. Politics has become central to our identity, but that's misunderstanding its role. People have decent moral foundations on both sides of the aisle. So, if your Labour supporting soul struggles after finding out your neighbours are Tory supporters, or vice versa, remember Dr. Safer's advice. Politics isn't character or a core value. People who disagree can still have the same core values. Cutting out people on the other side means that half the world is your enemy, which is tragic. There's no right and wrong. Remember that these conversations aren't about being right and wrong. That's narrow-minded, says Georgie. Everyone is right and everyone is wrong, according to their beliefs. It's subjective. The language of rightness and wrongness is unhelpful. You're trying to map and understand the way someone sees the world and what leads to their beliefs. Noted. Take control and walk away. If someone crosses the line, it's important to establish boundaries. If the way they're expressing their views is upsetting your mental health, you shouldn't be around them, says Dr. Safer. Take charge and don't put up with offensive things, even from family. when might it be time to walk away? If someone is constantly trying to have these conversations with you, question why you have them in your life, says Dr. Safer. If they're aggressive, angry, or obnoxious, she advises trying one of these lines. I don't think this is the tone we can discuss this in. I'd really prefer not to talk about this right now. This isn't a conversation I want to have. Agree to disagree. Rethink the notion that agreeing to disagree is a cop-out. There's huge power in knowing when to move on. If you try to understand each other's point of view and are getting nowhere, Georgie says, ask yourself, am I feeling emotional? Am I in a good space to be able to listen to this? Or shall we take a break? Are we getting to a point where we're going to damage the relationship? If you're heading for rocky territory, it might be time to call time on the conversation. Well, I hope you enjoyed that soft-spoken magazine and those couple of interesting articles. This has been Kate at the Library Whispers, saying I shall see you very soon. Bye bye for now.